So today's agenda is as follows. 16:1 mux using 4:1 mux as a component. And we will also do the synthesis simulation in ISE. Second is aggregate operator in VHDL. Third is generating clock waveforms. And fourth is checking the arrival instance of rising and falling edges of the clock. This fourth point is very important because without this thing, we cannot actually write VHDL models for shift registers, counters, and any clock system. So it is very, very important for us to learn how to check the arrival instance of rising and falling edges of the clock. Okay, we go ahead now with the first point. So 16:1 mux using 4:1 mux. Whenever a question is like this, immediately we come to know that we are supposed to use structural modeling style. If the question was 16:1 mux only, that means we have the freedom of writing VHDL model for 16:1 mux using data flow modeling style or behavioral modeling style. But when it is written that implement or model this system using this thing, that means always using what will be smaller than 16:1. Okay, so we will directly draw the block diagram of parent, which happens to be like this. And here I'm not going to use vectors because it will be difficult for the students, right? So the first thing which we do is we'll write down mux 161 underscore SMS to indicate that I'm trying to model a 16:1 mux using structure modeling style. Okay, and it is having 16 inputs, but I'm not going to write everything. So the first is I0, I1, I2, and I15. Similarly, I have 4 select lines. S3 is most significant select line, S2, S1, S0. Okay, and there is only one output. Y. Okay, so this is least significant and this is most significant. So that, okay, fine, that's it. Now, besides this, I will draw the child entity. The name of this entity will be MUX41 and it has 4 inputs. And as our rule that let this be input be so we can say because the parent entity has inputs I0 to I15, so we can give the name as M4 underscore 1, M4 underscore 0, underscore 1, underscore 2, M4 underscore 3. And then we have the select lines here, 2 select lines, and let they be M4S1, M4S0. Okay, and output we can say it is Y M4. Okay, and the name of this entity we can keep as mux 41. Okay, so mux 41 is our component or child entity. It has the following four inputs, the two select lines, and there is output ym4. Okay, now we are going to express this 16:1 using 4:1 mux. So as you know that we have to use 5 multiplexers. So first we'll make the boundary. This boundary will represent our parent entity 16:1 mux. So outputs of individual 4:1 muxes will be given. From here we have the output y of 16:1 multiplexer, and then can you tell me how these 4 select lines will be distributed? S3, S2, S1, S0. Okay, yeah.
Sorry, here we will have the MSB and to the 4 where we have column of 4. There we will have the LSB S1 S0 and the one.
Okay. So can you tell me that for the second level of multiplexer, this multiplexer will get S1 S0 or S3 S2?
S3 S2, sir.
Very good. It will get S3 S2. So they will get S3 S2. You are right. So I can take them here, and S1 S0 will go here. Okay. Okay. So how many instances of the component I have to create as per this diagram? How
5,
many?
sir.
5. You have to create 5 instances. We will name them afterwards. So very naturally, so our component name is mux 41, right? So what we will do is that we will give them name. Okay. So this will be mux 41, the instance name. So the first instance of this one will have mux 41 underscore 0. Let this be mux 41 underscore 1. This will be mux 41 underscore 2 and mux 41 underscore 3, and this guy will have the instance name mux 41 underscore 4. Okay, so 5 instance name is there, and then the signals coming from outside will strike like this. So I can say that okay, so I0 to I3 will go here. The second instance will receive next I4 to I7, I8, 9, 10, 11, and the last 4 inputs of the parent multiplexer will go from I12 to I15. and then we will give the intermediate signals also which are needed. So let this be y1, y2, y3, y4. Okay, so clear now. So all 5 instances have been given names. The 16 inputs of multiplexer have been divided into pairs of 4, and each multiplexer at the first level is receiving 4 out of 16, and the select lines also have been defined. So here I have not defined the select line, so I will define that. So it will be S3 and S2. Okay, now we have to convert this particular diagram into our ISE model. Okay, so without any delay we'll directly shift to ISE model. Okay, just but let us see what are the names of the parent. Mux 161 underscore SMS and Mux 41 is our component. Okay, here I go file, new project. My path has to be changed, so it is C colon HST Xilinx. I will say Mux 161 underscore SMS is my parent entity, control A, control C. Next, all these things are pre-configured, so no need to do anything here. Say finish. Okay, go here, right click new source, VHDL module, control V, underscore ARCH. And because I don't want to confuse the students, that is why I'm going to give discrete names here. I0, I1, I2, I3, I4, I5, I6, I7, I8, I9, I10, I11, I12, I13, I14, I15, S3, S2, S1, S0. Okay, so all 16 inputs. I had made a mistake. I had written IO. Okay, let me also make sure I have written I10 here. Yeah, that was written as IO, which was wrong. It is I0, and all select lines are there, and just my output Y as out, else everything is seems to be perfect. Okay, finish. Okay, close the summary, float, delete. Now what I will go do is that I have to create components here. And Mux 41. So Mux 41 is port parenthesis and M4 underscore 0. So M4 underscore 0 colon in standard underscore logic semicolon. Copy this 3 more times. M4 S underscore 1. In fact, there's no need to do this. M4 S underscore 1. Okay. YM4. So Y M4. Component is created now. So now I am going to define y1 to y4. Okay, so my component creation and intermediate signal definition is over. Now I am going to do instantiation and port mapping. So M41 underscore 0. Fine. So 0 colon component name is mux41 space port map. Okay. Now it's very clear that my I0 is going to hit to M40. I1 will hit M41. I2 will hit M42. Similarly, for the last instance, M43 of mux41 underscore 3 will be getting I15. It's very simple. We just do that now. Okay. So I0, I1, I2, I3, and then the select lines of instance get S1 comma S0. So I have to write down S1 comma S0 and the output. So the output of first instance is Y1. So I have to write down Y1. Okay, this is small Y1. Okay. Five. Go on changing the names. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here I4, I5, I6, I7, and all four instances are having the same select lines, so there is no need to change here. Only thing I have to change Y1 to Y2 because the outputs are different now. Similarly, I8, I9, I10, I11, and last Y3, I12, I13, I14, I15, Y4. Last instance gets Y1, Y2. It gets Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4, S3, S2, and Y. So here Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4, and S3, S2. The output of last instance is the output of multiplexer Y. So you have to capital Y here. Okay, seems to be fine. So now the parent or top level entity has been modeled, and now I'm going to model the child entity. So copy the library statements. Okay, and then go and copy this. Instead of component, just write entity here, ENTITY, and here write an entity name mux41. Otherwise everything else remains the same. So our entity declaration for child entity is over. Now we have to start writing the architecture. So you can copy this statement here. Only thing is that I have to change it to mux41. process. So all the inputs have to be copied right from here. So all the 4 inputs as well as select lines, everybody has to be in the sensitivity list. Begin. And here, let's write down. Gets M40. Zero 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 one one zero. Near your tool, write down. Okay. M40, M41, M42, else M43. End if, end process, and end architecture. So before synthesis only it is giving error. So you can handle that. Syntax error near else, syntax error near if. Unexpected concatenation operator. Okay. Fine. So actually we'll try and see and I went wrong. Actually, you cannot use concatenation. You have to use and only. We are through now. Let us see what is the schematic. It's a multiplexer you see here. Inside, we have exactly what we actually did. So there are 5 instances of the 4:1 mux. We can go inside each 4:1 mux and see what is there inside. Huge logic is there. We can go back, go back, go back, go back. Okay. So you can dock it, close it. Technology schematic is there. Go inside. This is what is there. So these are the resources which will be used from the FPGA. So it's like this. Okay. Fine. So I will not be writing the test bench now because it is time consuming. We can write it some other time. So aggregate operator in VHDL. Fine. So I'll just flash this thing to you. Yeah. So if you remember on 4th of August, we had taken this 3:8 decoder using behavioral modeling style. Okay. So here, do not know if we have done that. So this was our code for 3:8 decoder. So we see here that for every input combination from 000 to 111, we had to physically type all the bits. So a shorter way will be like this. So what I will do, I will copy this piece of code. Okay. And so if I want to initialize multiple bits to same logical value, I can use aggregate operator. Okay. So example. Okay. this is a counter. Okay, for example, if this is a 4-bit counter and it is negative edge triggered, and here I have reset and here I have a preset, right? So you see here that reset and preset are active high. That means what? If reset comes as 1, so then my Q should be equal to 0 0 0 0, and if preset comes to be 1, then my Q should be initialized to 1 1 1 1. Okay, so one way of doing this is that in VHDL you write down Q is assigned 0 0 0 0, or else if you want to preset the counter, you will write Q is assigned 1 1 1 1. But now, for example, if my counter is 16-bit counter, then what you do, you have to type 16 zeros or 16 ones simultaneously. So a very shortcut way of doing this thing is you write down like this. You write down Q is assigned others. Okay, so it is the same. This is same as writing Q is equal to 0 0 0 0. Similarly, if I write down Q is assigned others assigned 1, then it is same as writing Q equal to 1 1 1 1. Okay, so if I define Q as Q colon out standard underscore logic underscore vector 31 down to 0, then if I want to reset that counter, instead of writing 32 zeros, I'll simply write down Q is assigned others. It is as good as writing 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, this is called an aggregate operator. Now, as far as our decoder is concerned, what we want to write is this thing. Okay, so in case of a 3:8 decoder with active high outputs, so we know that when my I is equal to 0 0 0, my output Y should be equal to 1 followed by 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, similarly, if I is 1 1 1, Y has to be equal to 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so how you can use aggregate operator here? So if you want to do this thing here, so what I will do, we'll write down Y is assigned. See now, so this is the 0th bit 0, first one, so it's subscript, so the subscript is like this. So this is my Y0 Y1. Similarly, this is my Y7. So what I will do is this thing. So I will say, because I want to make the Y0 bit 1, so I will say 0 is assigned 1, others assigned 0. Okay, similarly, for this particular case, I will say Y is assigned. Now Y7 has to be assigned, so I will say 7 should be given logic 1, while others should be given 0. Another classic example. Okay, if suppose there is some system whose output is like this, say Q. So if Q is equal to 1 0 0 1 0 1, like this. Okay, so suppose it is 1 2 3 4 5 6. So these are the bits bit 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can write down Q is assigned. 1 is assigned 1. Okay, so then I will say 1 to 2 is assigned 0. Then I can say 3 is assigned 1, 4 is assigned 0, 5 is assigned 1. Okay, so this is very complex. It doesn't happen usually in digital. Okay, so this is how you use aggregate operators in VHDL. Okay, so now how to generate clock waveform. This is the third agenda. Very simple. So let us assume a clock. Okay, so let my clock signal have the name CLK, and this is time in seconds. Okay, so now suppose if my clock goes like this, it's a periodic waveform. So my clock is having a time period T. Okay, naturally that this is 1 and this logic 1 and logic 0. Okay, so how I'm supposed to do now? It is very clear, right? So if this is T, then this is T by 2, this is T by 2. Okay, so I can conclude that my clock is equal to 1 for T equal to T by 2 seconds, and my clock is equal to 0 for T equal to T by 2 seconds. Okay, so the generic definition will be like this. So how do I write the period? How do I generate it? I will write down so usually please understand one thing, that one must use a process to generate clock, but clock generation process is never written in main program. Main VHDL program, never written. Where is it written? Always written in test bench program as follows. Okay, so this is how you write it. Process, and in test bench program, process doesn't have a sensitivity list. So we have process, so there is no parenthesis after this. Process and begin. As I told you here, that clock remains equal to 1 for time t equal to t by 2 and equal to 0 for t equal to t by 2. Okay, so what I will do is that I have to define something first. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is define the time period t. Okay, so define the time period of clock t. How do you define? Is how you define it. Keyword constant, constant space constant name. So let our time period be a constant denoted as t. Constant space t, constant space constant name colon data type. Okay, so well, let me first write the syntax for constant. Okay, so the syntax for defining constants in VHDL is constant space constant name colon data type colon equal to initial value semicolon. Okay, so constant space constant name colon data type colon equal to initial value. Now our time period has a unit in seconds, so it will take this form. So it will become constant space constant name colon. This is of the data type time. This is a new data type I'm introducing to you. Till now I told that there is bit, there is standard underscore logic, there is integer, and this is time. So let for example that I want to generate a 1 megahertz clock. Okay, so if I want to generate a 1 megahertz clock, so f equal to 1 megahertz, time is equal to 1 microseconds. Okay, so I will say constant t space colon space time, and I will say colon equal to 1 US semicolon. Okay, so constant space constant name colon data type colon equal to initial value. I want to generate a 1 megahertz clock for which time period is 1 microseconds. So I will define constant space t colon time colon equal to 1 microseconds. Now I can write down a process. So it is like this. Process, no sensitivity list, begin, and I will write down. Now the name of my clock signal is CLK here. Okay, CLK. So I will write down begin, then I will write down CLK is assigned logic 1. I will say wait for t by 2 semicolon. Okay, so what will happen is it will remain 1 for 0.5 microseconds, and then I will say clock is assigned single tick 0, and I will say wait for t by 2. Okay, and then I will just say end process. Okay, okay, another example is that if suppose I want to directly write a process for generating a 1 gigahertz clock. Okay, so I will say write a process for generating 1 gigahertz clock. What I will do is direct like this, that I need not define the constant t. So I will simply tell I will say process, no sensitivity list, begin, and you know that for this frequency t is equal to 1 nanosecond. So I will say begin, I will say clock is assigned single tick 1, wait for 0.5 nanoseconds, clock is assigned logic 0. I will say wait for 0.5 nanosecond semicolon, and I will say end process. Okay, so directly instead of defining a constant t, I have directly given the value of t by 2. Okay, so this is nothing but okay. Now that you have studied here how to generate a clock, how to check arrival instance of rising and falling edges, it's very important. Okay, so we have two types. This is a rising edge. So rising edge is defined as that instant at which the clock transitions from logic 0 to logic 1. Similarly, we have the falling edge from 0. Okay, so I will draw something. So here we see that a clock goes from 0 to 1 and then it goes from 1 to 0. And if you remember that we had defined event as what? That any change in value of a signal, it is called as event. Okay, so I told you that when clock is going at logic 1 level or at logic 0 level, because it is having a constant value, we cannot say that event is occurring. But whenever clock changes its state from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0, we say that a 0 to 1 event has occurred, that is a rising edge, or a 1 to 0 event has occurred, that is a falling edge. So if suppose I want to detect the rising and falling edges of this particular clock signal which is having the name CLK, so what I do is this. Okay, so for detecting a rising edge there are two ways. Okay, I can say if clock tick event, there is no space in between, huh? If clock tick event, and now after the event has occurred, the clock has got the value 1. So after the event has occurred, so in case of a rising edge, after the event has occurred, clock is getting a value 1. So I'll say if clock tick event and clock equal to 1. This is how you detect the rising edge of the clock. Another way is telling if there is a ready-made format available in the language. So it is written if rising underscore edge bracket clock. So usually we write it like this: if clock tick event and clock equal to 1, then similarly I will write down then here. There are two ways of detecting. Similarly, if I want to detect a falling edge, I will draw it again. This is the falling edge of the clock. Initially value 1, final value 0. So here after the event has occurred, the clock has attained a value 0. So this statement will now be written as if clock tick event, that is event has occurred on clock, and after the event has occurred, it has attained a value clock equal to 0, and then we write then. An alternative to this is if falling underscore edge clock then. Okay, so I will recommend that you don't use this format because it is very confusing. A short and sweet format is this thing. Okay, so I'll recommend you to use this particular statement for detecting rising edge of the clock and this statement for detecting falling edge of the clock. Okay, so let me show you that where in counter we can use this thing. Okay, so let me draw a counter for you. This is my counter. And this particular symbol shows that my counter is negative edge triggered. That is, it operates on falling edge of the clock. And it's a very basic counter. It is having output Q. It is 4-bit counter and it is an up counter. That is what, whenever the clock edges comes, Q is incremented by 1. So if you want to make the truth table for this particular counter, so let's say let the name be CNTR4. So I can write down status of clock as the first column, put Q. Okay. So let Qn plus 1. So this is the next state of the counter. Okay, so next state of counter is called as Qn plus 1 and Qn is present state. So if clock is equal to 0, there is no change. It remains as it is. Similarly, if it is 1, then nothing happens. If rising edge comes, nothing happens. And as soon as the falling edge comes, it is Q plus 1. Okay, Qn plus 1. This is the truth table of a up counter which is negative edge triggered. So how do I write it? I will write down like this. I will say architecture, and then I'll not explain it now, but I'll have to define one more signal called as a dummy signal here. I will show you when we start learning counters. I will say signal, and there is one dummy signal called as qtemp, which is having the same size as the original signal. So signal space qtemp colon standard underscore logic underscore vector, and because there is an MSB bit and a LSB bit, so I will say down to 0. Okay, and then I will tell that process, and as seen in the block diagram, my counter is having only one input. So in my sensitivity list, I will write only CLK. Okay, and I will simply write down process CLK begin. So I have to tell that if the falling edge comes, then you increment, otherwise you remember your state. So I will say begin. So if falling underscore edge CLK, then now see, I will say if falling edge comes, then qtemp should be assigned qtemp plus 1, and I will say else. So else here actually means, so when I say else here, so else implies that clock equal to 0 or clock equal to 1, or I am also meaning this thing. Okay, so when any three of the states come, that is clock is equal to 0 or clock is equal to 1 or clock is having a rising edge, in all these situations I will simply tell qtemp should be assigned qtemp, which indicates that it will not increment itself, and then I will say end space if And then after coming out of the process, I have to assign the dummy variable to my original output Q. So we see here in the block diagram, my counter's actual output is Q, and I have taken help of a dummy signal here. The reasons will be told when I teach you counters. So I will say Q is assigned Q temp, semicolon, and then I will end the architecture. Okay, so I will say and my entity name is counter 4. So CNTR4 underscore arch. Okay, so this is where and how we detect actually falling edges of the clock. Okay, we will be appreciating this more when we actually start doing the VHDL modeling of sequential systems. Currently, when we are writing model for logic gates or for multiplexers or decoders, we are still roaming in the combinational digital domain. Once we go to sequential, we'll start doing the VHDL modeling of sequential systems by starting with latch and then flop and then counters and then registers. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It was a heavy discussion today, I know, and I'm happy that I was able to cover 4 topics. So I'll be taking a PDF print of these handwritten notes and they'll be uploaded as usual. So you can refer if you have missed something or not understood anything. And last but not the least, if anybody has any doubts based on what discussion we had, you are free to ask. Anybody has any questions to ask from this? This is what we discussed today. Okay. We expressed 16:1 as a combination of 5 4:1s, and then we completed all that is required for writing the structural modeling style for 16:1s, 16:1 mux, and then we went to the ISE and we did the synthesis successfully. Then we discussed about aggregate operators, which are used for initializing multiple bits of a multi-bit signal to common values. Like we gave examples of counters whose all bits should be made 0 when a reset comes, or all the bits should be made 1 when a preset comes. At the same time, we also took example of how you can use aggregate operator for defining outputs of a 3:8 decoder, wherein only one bit has a unique value and all remaining n-1 bits have the same value. And we took some different kind of examples. Then we also learned how to generate clock waveform in VHDL, and we mentioned specifically that clock is generated using a process clause, but clock generation process is never written in main VHDL program. It is always written in test bench program. And we took a sample having a t, period t, and we have written it in 2 ways. That is, first by defining a constant t and telling the clock to wait for half the time period t/2. If you don't want to define a constant t, took example how you can write a process for generating 1 gigahertz clock directly in the process clause itself. I have written the time period t/2. And one thing important is in any clock generation process, we are not allowed to write the sensitivity list because it is a part of test bench program. And then we learned how to detect the arrival instance of clock edges, and we told that there are 2 ways. One is using attributes. So clock tick event. So this tick is called as attributes in VHDL. Either we can use a lengthy format of writing if clock tick event and clock equal to 1, or else we can use if rising underscore edge. A similar way was defined for detecting falling edges. And then we actually showed how for writing the architecture body of a negative edge triggered 4-bit up counter, we are using dummy variables q temp having the same size as the actual output q, and then we are detecting it and incrementing it, and if the falling edge doesn't come, then we are telling it to remain in the same count where it was before. This was a revision. And any questions? Any questions anybody is having?
No, sir.
Okay, fine.